All right, hey guys, happy Monday. It's November 3rd. We are officially in November now. And I haven't been feeling great this weekend, and I'm not going to be here in class today or tomorrow at least. So we'll see kind of what that looks like going forward. Today, here's the plan. I want to make sure that I prepare you guys with what we're doing starting at the end of class today, and then you guys are going to have some work time tomorrow as well. You're going to be working on a four-paragraph essay starting at the end of class today and then working through tomorrow as well. But I want to make sure you guys have all the proper notes that you're going to need to be able to be successful doing this. So, guys, you're going to need note sheet 3.2. We haven't created one of those, so get a new note sheet out, note sheet 3.2, and we're going to be doing note numbers 3.2.1. Not a ton of notes today, but enough for a new note sheet here. So as you guys are getting those out, what we've been talking about, and so as you guys know, we talked a lot about agrarian societies and how we used to be an agrarian society before we industrialized. And then we talked a lot about industrialization. We talked about new factories. We talked about new inventions. We talked about the steam engine and all of those new forms of technologies and how industrialization is going to lead to things. And so this entire new unit that we're focusing our attention on are results of industrialization. So last week we talked about immigration as a result of industrialization. And this week, what we're going to be focusing on is urbanization as a result of industrialization. So that begs the question, what is urbanization? Okay, so if you think about the difference between these three terms, urban, suburban, and rural, things you've probably heard of before. Rural is farming type of communities. The suburbs, the suburban types of communities, are areas outside of cities, and then you have your urban areas, our cities. And so if you take a look here, I like to show this image. Whenever we look at, what are we looking at here? The light blue is considered outer exurban fringe or outer suburban areas, and the white's going to be our rural areas. This is according to Ohio State. But if you take a look here, we are right out, we're kind of halfway between. We're right in here, halfway between the outer suburban area and the rural area. If you take a look at there, but it's pretty interesting to see all of the urban, which is the gray, the suburban, which is the darker blue, and the outer suburban, which is the light blue. But we still have quite a bit of rural throughout Ohio. So let's keep taking a look here. All right, so you're going to take a second and jot this definition down. Urbanization is going to be the beginning of 3.2.1, and this is the growth of cities. And we're going to talk about cities growing. So teacher, go ahead and take a pause here if you need to so that they can jot that down. All right, so urbanization is the growth of cities, and this is going to be a big result of industrialization. And we're going to be taking a look here, let me go ahead and skip that, at how cities grew. Check out this little city that had to expand as it grew too much.
Linxi Village is a unique community in Chongqing, China, where houses are built on top of a bridge that spans the Yangtze River. The villagers have been living on the bridge for centuries and have developed a self-sustaining way of life. They grow their own vegetables, raise livestock, and fish in the river. The villagers also sell their goods to the passers-by, making the bridge a lively and bustling marketplace. The bridge and its community have become a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors from all over the world. Despite the challenges of modernization and urbanization, the villagers of Linxi have managed to preserve their traditional way of life and their unique cultural heritage.
So I like to show that. I mean, that city grew so much to the point it had to kind of continue growing onto that bridge. And whenever we think about urbanization in America today and the world today, urbanization is happening all over the world, and it is growing like crazy. If you take a look here at this chart, and you guys are going to want this in your notes here, between 1880 and 1920, so over a 40-year time frame, we saw 11 million people leave their farms and go to factories. Where are the factories? The cities. And if you take a look here from 1890 to 1920 in this chart, LA grew by 1,000%, Detroit by 750%. They had the automobile industry in Detroit. Chicago, 430%. They had a meat packing industry we're going to talk more about soon. Grew a lot. New York, over 300%. Well, a ton of manufacturing they had there. And so all of these former farmers going to cities. And remember, we talked about new technologies created less of a need for farmers. Immigrants are going to settle in these cities because it was cheap. It was convenient for them. This is where their boats landed. Last week we looked at Ellis Island quite a bit and Angel Island in San Francisco. And so where those people came in on their boats, there were those ghettos that we discussed, and those ghettos in those cities. So African Americans often even left the South, and we're going to talk more about what's called the Great Migration soon. So the African Americans are going to leave the South and the farms after the Civil War, and they're going to come up to northern cities to escape racism and to get jobs. And so all of these factors, from immigrants to African Americans to former farmers, are going to make cities in America grow immensely. Remember, less of a need for farmers, more of a need for factory workers. Teacher, you can pause it here if they need it. Wink, wink, nod, nod. These would be two really good test questions someday. How did industrialization lead to urbanization? Less of a need for farmers, more of a need for factory workers. How did immigration lead to urbanization? Immigrants are going to settle in the ports they landed in, and they're going to land in cities. So both of those questions might be good ones to see later on. I like to show this image. Check out the New York City skyline and what skyscrapers have done to New York. And so if you take a look here, this is what it originally looked like, New York City, compared to its growth. So you can look here, you can look here, and as it continues on and on. So the city has continued to grow, and with that, skyscrapers allow those cities to grow more and more. The construction of skyscrapers allowed the modern city to exist. But let's go back here and thinking about these cities. Let's look at some of the living conditions that people are going to be suffering through in early cities in America. We're going to talk more closely about tenements, but a tenement is a low-cost, multi-story apartment building where the conditions were terrible. Oftentimes inside of those ghettos, we saw tenements. And so a tenement was a cheap place for people to live, and groups of tenements were called slums. Now, these conditions oftentimes in tenements were miserable. Oftentimes, families lived in very small areas, one room. Go ahead and hit the pause button if you need to, teacher. So some of the conditions that people may have experienced in those early cities, slum living, safe access to water, poor sanitation in many of those areas. We saw disease spread easily, crime. Modern day cities, we have good fire departments, we have good police control, and yet in those times they didn't. And so many of these issues that we saw develop were not fixed right away. Teacher, you can hit pause here. So what you guys are going to be doing, and I'm going to have the teacher pull this video up in a new tab. Um, it wasn't uploading right as I was trying to make these videos. You're going to be watching a video here about a place in Bangladesh. It's called Dhaka. It's one of the largest cities in Bangladesh. And you're going to be writing a paper, a 4-paragraph essay, and you're going to be comparing the conditions that people are experiencing in Dhaka, Bangladesh, as Dhaka, Bangladesh is urbanizing, as its city is growing, and looking at those conditions, because the conditions that they're experiencing are the exact same conditions that people experienced in America over 100 years ago. So here in a little bit, you're going to be watching those and look for housing, look for water, look for the sanitation, look at disease, crime, all of this in this short little 8-minute video clip of Dhaka. Now, you're going to get a paper handed out to you that looks like this. This paper I will also have on Google Classroom. There's the video link to the video we're going to be watching together here in a second. There's an online book to help you, because you're going to need to reference this as far as what is urbanization. There's an article, and I tell you even where you can use that article. So everything you're going to need here, the 4 paragraphs, what you need to discuss in each of the 4 paragraphs is listed. You're going to give me an introduction, an explanation, a comparison, and an opinion. If you take a look here, even in the bolded parenthesis, I give you some hints on what to do and what to look for. Here, you're going to need to use this online transcript to help get a quote from the video. All right, so another thing that you're going to find on Google Classroom is this. This is a template. You're going to put the date in. You're going to put what class period you're in, leave my name, put your name in here. I've already given you the first sentence. I've already given you the first sentence on what you need, and then you can build from that sentence. Urbanization has happened in America and all over the world for many years. Rubric. I've given a rubric on Google Classroom, and this is what my expectation is. All right, so teacher, you can go ahead and you'll be able to turn this video off now. And what you're going to be doing, again, is going to the other video that was provided, and you're going to be checking out Dhaka, Bangladesh. As you can see here, this major city with major amounts of traffic and major amounts of crazy new living conditions. And you can see the high-rise buildings on one side of the river, but the slums on the other. Check that video out.